You are a leader. If you are part of a family, you're a leader. In your friend group, you're a leader. In your neighborhood, you're a leader. You're a leader if you work in an office, if you have a workspace with other people, or if you work for a corporation. You are a leader if you're involved in any relational dynamic or any emotional system. You are a leader. But the most important time to be a leader, the time when it's most important for you to show up, is when you are alone and you're leading within. Jesus' great leadership talk, the Sermon on the Mount, the very first thing he said right after the beautiful Beatitudes, that beautiful poem of statements of being, his first lesson was about salt and light. He said specifically in Matthew 5, verse 13, "You are the salt of the earth. But if the salt has lost its taste, how can its saltiness be restored? It's no longer good for anything, but is thrown out and trampled underfoot. You are the light of the world. A city cannot be hid. People do not light a lamp and place it under a bushel, but on a stand, and it gives light throughout the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, so that they may see your good works and give glory to your Father in heaven." Now, Jesus taught in this talk at 3 levels. The first level was at the level of story, so that the people of that time could understand what he was saying and could apply it in their life. Jesus also spoke at the level of metaphor, so that the people of our time can see the truth in it and how it can be related to our lives, and so that we can apply it in our daily life. And Jesus also spoke at the level of metaphysics, that is, the level of consciousness, that these stories are not just about us relating to one another, but how we relate and how we align ourselves to spirit, how we align ourselves to what Jesus called the kingdom of heaven. You may call it the universe, the isness, the allness, whatever word works for you. It's that idea of aligning yourself with it. And in this wonderful lesson, he talked about the salt. You were the salt of the earth. At the end of last year, we were talking about and learning the idea of we are fully human and fully divine. We are 100% human and we're 100% divine. I used to think that those two were at opposite ends of the same spectrum until we really dove into it, and they're really not. For that divine essence within you is unchanging, is always present. That's what unity might call the Christ in you, or the divine spark in you, or that allness within you. It is 100% exactly the same all the time, one with the allness of life. That's our divine nature. Our human nature, we fluctuate left and right, don't we? We have times of joy and times of sorrow. We have times of frustration and times of empowerment. And this is what I believe Jesus was talking about from this concept of you are the salt. That's our human, earthly nature. That's our human self. We are the substance. We are the flavor. We are the resource of life. And yet, at times, we can lose our flavor, can't we? At times, we lose track of that allness of life, and we get frustrated, and we get upset. And over time, our life can begin to lose flavor. Know that you are that flavor, the richness, the joy and excitement and enthusiasm of life. And there will be times when people are trotting upon you, but to lift yourself up. And at the same time, you are the light of the world. So in those times, you have to remember to shine your light, to lift yourself up, to allow that divine consciousness within you, that allness within you, to shine and to be present. The salt and the light work in concert with one another. Our human aspect and our divine aspect works in concert with each other. This energy within us is always present, called divine, and our human aspect is always active. And when we bring those together, we are living a more joyful and abundant life. We're experiencing life, and we're living from that divine essence. And this is what I like to call presence. I like to presence myself, to get myself in tune on both of those dynamics, my human self and my divine self, to presence myself in spirit, to presence myself in divine love, in my inner power, in my spiritual strength, to presence myself to it so that I can live more fully from it. And when I do this, when I presence myself, I'm leading from within. I'm leading myself. I'm leading my thoughts. I'm leading my words. I'm leading my actions. And I'm responding in a healthy way to my reactions. So the salt and the light work in concert with each other. So how do we do that? It's really kind of the idea of allowing ourselves to be the best that we can be. And how can we be the best that we can be? I've come up with 5 things that have resonated with me over the years. I'd like to share them with you. And we'll go through them, and then I'll give you an example. The first one is to set the intention. To set your intention to show up. To make the decision. Because once you hear about it, there was some understanding about it, but it wasn't until I made the intention to actually put them into practice that they meant anything to me. So the first step is setting the intention to show up. The second step is knowing your inner resources, to start to draw upon those inner resources so that we can bring those inner resources out of love, of strength, of wisdom, of joy, of enthusiasm, of steadiness, of steadfastness, in the times that we really need them, to draw upon those inner resources without reverting to our old habits, without reverting to the easy path of shame and guilt, the easy path of blame. And it's not easy to go through it, per se, but it's so much easier to be in it because it's comfortable for us. It's what we know. The other side of the coin, where we're drawing upon those resources, we haven't done it very often, or maybe we're still kind of learning it, and so there's a little bit of unknown there. So it's more difficult to kind of sink into those or to apply those. So, first off, set the intention. Second off, understand your inner resources and bring those up into your being. The third is applying those resources in the moment. So in those times when it feels like someone's trotting on you, that's when we need to draw upon these inner resources. And that's when we need to lead in real time. Lead myself in real time. Be my own leader in that moment, internally. And that's the fourth step. And the fifth step is then to reinforce that within me so that it becomes my new norm, so that it becomes my new habit of living that best self, of allowing that salt and earth to work in harmony with each other. I was in high tech for a couple decades. My role was as a product manager and a product marketer, and I was in charge of products. To give you some context, this was back in the day when it was all client-server software solutions. It was all enterprise solutions. It was way before the day of all of the apps that we have on our cell phone. In fact, we didn't even have that supercomputer in our pockets back then. They didn't exist. That's how long ago it was. As my kids like to call it, the dark ages. So back then it was really important that whatever you were delivering to a giant corporation, that it be pretty good. We were actually sending them physical product, right? We didn't download it. It didn't get updated every day like our phone does. So in this experience, as a product manager, I was leading a cross-functional team. And a cross-functional team are all of the key people from all of the different departments that have to do with this product and its release. We were all on the same level, right? There was no hierarchy there. We all came from different departments, had different leaders, but we were there and had to work together to deliver this product. And there was this one time that I remember, this one product where, as the product manager and product marketeer, I'm like, the voice of the client and the voice of the user. This is what people want in the world. And then there's the developer going, yeah, but we're doing it this way. And so we started butting heads. I was adamant and it had to be this way. He was adamant it had to be this way, that way, the other way. We were butting heads in the meeting, and so the whole meeting was pretty dysfunctional instead of cross-functional. It was a real struggle for me, and I realized, you know what? I have to find a way through this. I asked my managers, and they're like, well, it's your product. Figure it out. Thanks. Now, you may not have been in high tech. You may never have owned a product or drawn specs for a product or deliver a product. Have you ever had that kind of relationship where you are with someone and battling them? My right way is the right way, and your way, well, we've all been in those situations where we are struggling with one another, and whether it's in your family, in your friend group, at work, at your church or spiritual center, certainly not the spiritual center. We've all had those experiences of us, butting heads against each other. And so I realized that I had to do something about this because I owned this from the corporate level. At least that's what my manager believed. So I felt my job was at risk. I felt the product was at risk. I felt, okay, I've got to figure this out. So I made the intention that I have to do it. I have to figure it out. And the first step was, how do we get out of our bunkers? Because, when you're really fighting each other, it's like you're digging your foxholes and you're building your bunkers up and you're throwing hand grenades over the wall at each other. You're in our defensive posture. And so the first thing I had to do was, well, what value do I want to draw upon? What spiritual value that I need to draw upon for myself to be able to get out of my bunker? Because I've got to be the one to do it. So the value that I drew out of it was safety. I'm safe. It's okay. You're going to be okay. Because I was feeling unsafe. For the imagined, consequence if it didn't go the way I wanted it to go. So I'm safe. And the skills that I used was candid ownership with myself. So I'm leading myself. Where am I to blame? Where am I at fault? Where am I creating the disconnect? Where am I creating the frustration? Where am I creating the disharmony in the situation? And when I lead myself from that point, purely candid with myself, I can say, okay, this is mine to own. This isn't. This is them. But I don't own that part of that. I don't own that side. They own their stuff. I own my stuff. So the second thing I needed to do was connect. How can I connect with this person so that we can move forward? And so I drew upon the idea of harmony, that value of harmony, that divine essence that we are one. And I recognize that we are in a horizontal structure, right? This isn't a vertical structure when I can tell him what to do. We had to come together and decide. So I recognize, you know what? It's not about me. It's not about him. It's about what's best for the situation. So I'm going to create this sense of harmony within me as I move forward. And the next part of it was creating a dialogue. So how can I connect and create a dialogue with him? Well, I drew upon my value of curiosity, being willing to see what is he saying. Maybe he has a better idea than I do. Maybe he's right. Maybe there's a different way that we can come together on it to create something that both of us can get behind. So I drew upon that value of curiosity, and I used the practice of courage and presence. You remember presence? Getting present first. Getting present to my sense of being, to allness, to spirit, whatever it was. I didn't have to use those words. I just needed to become that. And then the courage to simply step forward and say, hey, I'd like to have a dialogue about this one-on-one so we can really understand where we're coming from. Because I think I'm missing something that you're saying, and I really want to understand what your point of view is so we can come together on this. And he said, okay. The next was creating a solution in our dialogue. In our dialogue, it was around drawing upon the idea of creativity because we had to come up with something different. And part of that was letting go of what I was holding on to. And part of it was standing firm on the things that really mattered. But being very clear on what mattered and what didn't matter. So I'm leading myself through this dialogue because my normal self would have been back in the bunker throwing those verbal hand grenades, digging in. So whenever he dug in, I got more curious. So tell me more about it. And what we found is that there was one aspect of it that he was really excited about or really passionate about. And I learned something new about the product that I was bringing to the market that I didn't even know before. So the two of us got together and we were able to create a solution that made sense. And then finally, reinforce it. How do I reinforce my own behavior? Not his behavior, my behavior. How can I reinforce my strength as a leading myself? And that was through the power of gratitude. First, being grateful that, hey, my self-esteem is up. I did a good job. And then offering gratitude to him so that I'm expressing that gratitude. And being willing to share the limelight. It's not really my product, right? It's our product because we came together and we're bringing this together. Everyone in that cross-functional team, every person who has an impact on it, this is us. It made all of the difference in our team meetings. Just that one meeting. Leading within. Leading within is showing up as the best self that you could be. To live into your potential. And there are going to be times when it's difficult. There are going to be times when people are throwing the rotten tomatoes at you. But when it happens, again, turn within and lead yourself so that you can be your best self out in the world. The results were resilience, inner strength, confidence, a more productive relationship, better teamwork, and a healthier work environment. Leading from within is sinking into that essence of God, that light within you, and that salt within you. The creativity, the energy, the enthusiasm, and the willingness to be present and live and act with love and compassion and understanding. And as we combine those two things in any aspect of life, we can be sure to be leading ourselves to a greater experience. Leading within is showing up as the best self that I can in that moment. It is living in the presence and leading into our potential. So let's move to our affirmations. I'm going to read this once and then invite you to affirm it with me. I am in tune with presence. Now, presence is that idea that I am one with the infinite flow of life, love, and wisdom. I'm one with God. I'm one with isness. I'm one with the universe. So whatever words work for you to align yourself in that, use that word. I'm in tune with presence. I let go and establish harmony and balance within. I am the leader of my thoughts, words, and actions. I am a beneficial presence. Would you affirm that with me together? I am in tune with presence. I let go and establish harmony and balance within. I am the leader of my thoughts, words, and actions. I am a beneficial presence. And so it is. You are the salt of the earth. You are the light of the world. It's time for you to come alive and thrive.